up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com. Oh man, this is a video that I would like to think would be a common sense video if you know how the world works, but it's not. And that's nobody's fault. That's nobody's fault because a lot of people just don't know how stuff works. Same reason why I'm sitting here. I got my MacBook, right? And I have friends who are computer geeks. They know computers. They literally would yell at me for not building my own computer because you could build your own computer and get a much better computer for way less money. But being that I don't know how to build computers, I just go to Apple and I'm like, hey man, I want a MacBook. Done. So I have my MacBook. I didn't build my own computer. My son built his own gaming computer. I don't even know how it works, but he did it. Then he built another gaming computer for my 10-year-old. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is we don't have to be an expert at everything, and I'm certainly no expert in insurance. But as someone who owns multiple businesses and I provide insurance for my employees, and I went through the transition to Obamacare, which increased our insurance rates, plus lessened the coverage, made it worse coverage. So we had a 48% increase in our rates, probably 50% reduction in the quality of coverage due to Obamacare. But you know what? I live in America and there's really nothing I could do about it. We have the highest corporate tax rates in the world. We have a bunch of regulations that are hard to deal with. But again, there's good and bad with being a business owner. There's good and bad in living in any country, including America. But I do know about insurance because I insure myself and I insure, dozens of other folks and their families. So I've shopped insurance. I've dealt with HR when they've worked in the insurance companies. I've met with these agents. So unfortunately, the other day, we had a bodybuilder pass away. Now, remember in the past, we had Cedric and we had John, God rest their souls. We had so many bodybuilders have passed away, George. And a lot of people go at the fact that bodybuilding is extremely dangerous in that you take a lot of risks. Not only are you lifting heavy weights, but, you're probably doing things that makes your body bigger, which might be stressful on the heart, might reduce your longevity, might increase your chances of morbidity or your mortality. So when looking at bodybuilding, a lot of people say it is very disingenuous. And I've seen this many, many times. I just happened to comment on it here. Very disingenuous for the IFBB to not give insurance to their athletes. And from a top-down look, just looking at it, it's like, why not? Why not provide health care coverage for professional bodybuilders, right? Like the NFL Players Union, I believe they have some kind of an insurance thing going on. They're covered by the team. I think it varies per team. Not sure how that works. But in a lot of sports and a lot of organizations, they do offer some kind of coverage or something you can pay into, which might be an option, but I'll go into why that just doesn't make sense. So bodybuilding is not the NFL. Right? Like if I'm on an NFL team, I am commissioned to play for that season. And during the off season, if under a contract, I'm getting ready for the next season. Bodybuilders are not held to a competition schedule. For example, last year I was like, I'm going to do the Chicago Pro. The year before I'm going to do Chicago Pro. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm not right. I'm going to do Tampa. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling well. I was having a bit of stress issues. I didn't get rhabdo, but I came right up to rhabdo, like right up to that point. If that makes sense. Basically, if I didn't stop what I was doing from the intensity standpoint, and I went on vacation, I was going under a lot of stress. Vacation meaning I was in 115-degree weather in Charleston. My family and I were kayaking, walking. I was prepping. I was extremely lean, overtrained. So I went from there and then, you know what? Nah, I'm going to go ahead and do the New York Pro. Then I did the New York Pro. So bodybuilders aren't held to a schedule. I can stop competing as long as I pay my dues for the next 5 years. And I'm good to go. And I can just hop back on stage. Whereas an NFL player, once they stop playing, they retire, they don't maintain those benefits. Or an MLB player or anybody else. Bodybuilding, albeit a professional sport, you are independent contractors. You are basically at any time, you can say, hey, here's how it goes. So basically, when I want to do a show, I email the IFBB. I say, hey, this is Marc Lobliner. Will you please send me a contract to compete in the 212 division of the, let's say, Toronto Pro? I get it back. They say, hey, send this back to their earliest convenience. I believe you have to do it at least 10 days in advance. I sign it. I send it back. I'm good for that show. So essentially, and then I'm competing for prize money, which pros do. But nowhere in that am I doing anything but throwing my hat in the arena, or basically saying like, hey, I'm in for this show. I'm not bound to compete in any shows. I am literally going as an independent athlete / contractor to compete for money. That's it. I am not an employee. I am not a contracted athlete like an NFL player. I do not have any agreement other than what's written on my IFBB Pro card. And there's no agreement where the IFBB is like, hey, you're an employee of the IFBB. No, you are a competitor under the IFBB. You are a pro competitor. So there's no way it could ever work. But let's assume that for some reason, Tyler Mannion had a little too much of that wild turkey during the holiday season. He's getting a little bit crunk. He's like, you know what, Dad? You know what, Jim? Uncle Jim, JM? I'm going to give free health care, or I'm going to offer a health care package to all IFBB professional bodybuilders, active or non-active. And Jim would be like, hold on, Tyler. Have you lost your mind? Did all those years of wrestling, did you get a concussion during that mat return you took in 2005? And Tyler's like, no, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide free insurance for every single IFBB pro. So then Jim, being the smart man he is, again, this is a fake scenario. I'm not by any means insulting Tyler. I just said he's drunk. I'm not even saying he drinks, but this is all hypothetical. Okay. So let's assume that Jim goes, okay, Tyler, let's go over why this won't work. Number one, bodybuilders are off the charts in what would be considered insurable. And you know, as the more uninsurable you are, the higher your rates go. For example, they still go by body mass index. I recently got a Keyman policy with my partner, and the way they do it is they will make notes where they will go outside of BMI or body mass index if you are lean and just muscular. However, I highly doubt that Big Ramy at 310 pounds will qualify for any rate other than the smoker / half dead / terminal illness rate. Ramy will be paying 10 times what an unhealthy person will be paying. So you do not want to be in that group where you're getting a group rate based on Big Ramy being in your group. So all these guys are taking you down. Nick Walker, okay, big dude, 300 pounds or near 300 pounds off season. Dude's like 5'6". I think he's a little shorter than me. I'm 5'7". Do you really want to be among that group rate if you have to pay any of it? Do you think the IFBB can afford that rate for every single bodybuilder? Put that in perspective. And can you imagine the blood work of some of these athletes? Like, what if someone, and I'm hypothetically saying that bodybuilders might partake in some extracurricular performance enhancing supplement use. Okay, so put this in perspective. Can you imagine the liver enzymes on some of these guys? Can you imagine like the bun from the BUN, the blood urea nitrogen, and the creatinine from all the protein and food these guys intake? Can you imagine the AST, ALT, and liver enzyme markers that these guys have when just walking around? Not only from potential, which I'm not confirming that anybody does or doesn't do anything, from potential use of these substances, but also they train so hard, they're more than likely going to have some kind of elevated enzymes. They might not be taking ambrosia nectar, which I take, which is why when I post my blood work, my enzymes are perfect. Little product plug for ambrosia nectar there. By the way, the greatest organ supplement ever created. So you look at all that. You look at everything involved. Do you really think health insurance is feasible? Have you guys looked at how much health insurance costs? I believe, I'll have to look at it, but most families of 4 or more, you're at like $1,000 plus a month sometimes. Health insurance is absolutely out of control. It's absolutely out of control. So do you really think that bodybuilding can offer health insurance for all of their athletes. So there are a lot of active pros, right? I competed this year. I consider myself an active pro, but I did one show. Do I deserve health insurance? Here's what I'm getting at. So there are only probably, let's say the entire world, 100 competitors, from bodybuilding to classic to physique to all women's divisions. I forgot, there's so many of them: wellness, bikini, figure, bodybuilding, and physique. 5? Yeah, whatever. Did I go over fitness? There's like 5 or 6. There's a lot of chicks, right? A lot of chicks, a lot of divisions. So put it in perspective. There's probably only, out of all those divisions, 10 or so divisions, there's only probably 100 athletes who do it full time. Okay, that's their full-time job. They make money on the prizes and earnings they get, and they make money from whatever sponsorships they may have, which are few and far between, but there are some to be had. So let's estimate 100 of them. So do we have to make it a thing where, and what if someone has a job, but let's say they're a contractor. Let's say, let's say that Keon, let's say that Keon is an IT consultant who consults with IBM and Apple, and he's because he's a smart dude. And he's like, okay, I don't need insurance. I'm not going to get insurance because I'm a private contractor. And so should the IFBB cover his insurance even though he has a job and he can go out and get insurance on his own? Here's what I get from it. Look, man, it's good to say everybody needs insurance. It's good to say everybody needs free health care. I understand that we shouldn't just let people die in this country. But getting back to the IFBB, dude, there is absolutely no way in hell that the IFBB, based on all these variables that I put out there, and just based on common sense of the fact that the IFBB they have no obligation to provide anything to anybody. What they have an obligation to do is provide enough shows with enough prize winnings, earnings. I'm losing my brain here. I think I need some insurance from Tyler. They need to provide shows so people compete and have a chance to earn. That's what we're competing for. It's basically like going on a reality show. You know, I went on American Grit, and I knew that at the end of the day, I could probably win $250,000. If the IFBB stops giving out prize money, they stop giving out these incentives to compete, people will simply stop competing because the prize ain't worth the strain. Okay? Very few people compete because I compete. I have jobs. At least at that level, like competing as a pro is really hard. As I know, because I got my butt kicked. To get to that level, it takes a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of selfishness. It takes a lot. So there's absolutely no way that anybody's going to compete in this sport unless it's worth it. And to someone like Derek or Hottie or Nick, the prize winnings at these shows are great. And with how you can monetize yourself via social media, hell, even Twitter's giving out checks, YouTube's giving out checks, Meta is giving out checks here and there. There are plenty of ways to make money. So at the end of the day, look, man, I love the altruism. I'm not mad at anybody wishing the best and wishing coverage for people. But I just want to say from a business standpoint, it is absolutely impossible for the IFBB to cover health insurance for folks. And I mean, our dues. So here's how it works, guys. So once you earn your pro card, that pro card stays there, right? You just have to pay your dues. I don't know if they want us saying how much it costs a year. Let's say it's a couple to a few $100, right? With that pro card, it gives you a pass to be able to use that pro card to compete in any pro show in any division. And there's no point in competing in a pro show in any division or doing anything unless you have a chance to win something. Again, stakes are higher. A lot of amateurs compete just because they want to mark it off their list. Hey, I competed in a show, awesome, felt good, got some good pictures, something I could talk about later on in life. A lot of amateurs are trying to get a pro card because either they want to make it a career or it's really cool to have a pro card. I got to say, it's one of the coolest things I have in my life. And I have a pretty cool life. But there's nobody, at least there shouldn't be anybody in bodybuilding who thinks that this job is like working at JD Power and Associates, is like working at Microsoft, is like working at tigerfitness.com. You're competing. You have a chance to earn money. Get your insurance on your own. All right, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Really appreciate everything. Really appreciate you guys a lot. Just a heads up right here. Drop Factor X. That's our fat burner from MTS Nutrition. It is fantastic. It has 8 ingredients, plus the 9th ingredient is a supplement or a product, an ingredient called InnoSlim, which actually helps your body not absorb all of the calories from the food you eat. So it'll help you create a caloric deficit and lose more weight. It's called Drop Factor X, available on tigerfitness.com. I'll link it down below. And of course, you know what I do, guys. I create these things called the Outright Bars. They're delicious. #1 bar at Vitamin Shop and GNC, also available at tigerfitness.com, Hy-Vee, and a ton of other places. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That's not a game. The Outright Bar was created for my kids. My kids need a snack to eat during soccer tournaments, and also I wanted a bar for myself to eat pre-workout, post-workout, and also throughout the day. You want your Outright Bars right now. That's why we have a partnership going with the Vitamin Shop to make sure that we're in all 750 plus locations, providing the best price, the best service, the best people to give you the Outright Bar when and where you need it.